Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mio MMA podcast. I am a day late because yesterday was the Grey Cup up here in Canada. So I was at my uncle's to watch that. And obviously, that meant that there wasn't time to get this recap of UFC 309. Plus, I guess this is technically a recap of the Tyson Paul stuff, although I'm not going to go into any kind of detail on that. It just feels like that is the story, obviously, and I have a take. So let's get through that first. Tyson versus Paul. Mike Tyson, Iron Mike Tyson, 58 years old, bad leg, bad medical conditions in general. Like, if you look into the medical report off of the ulcer that canceled the first fight, it is a thing. It's borderline miraculous that he was healthy enough to do this fight without, like, just completely falling apart. And a lot of people are like, oh, it was a fix. It has to be a fix. Jake Paul can't beat Mike Tyson. And the truth of the matter here is that if you want to call this fixed because the fight actually just happened, I'm with you. Like, it is, every Jake Paul fight is more or less a fixed fight because he is choosing the opponent for him to fight and being part of the promoter and so on. So, like, he's picking fights that he can win. And that was the key here. There's a 30-year age gap between these two men. And people are putting up all these videos of Mike Tyson hitting pads and being like, where was this? Where was this explosive violence? And it's like, you have to be able to hunt the guy down. And that's the problem with Tyson. He doesn't have footwork anymore. He doesn't have quickness of feet. He doesn't have the ability to cut the cage off. If you were to fight Mike Tyson in a phone booth, you would go right in and just basically exchange up close and personal punches. It'd probably still knock you out. He probably still hits hard enough to do that. He probably, still has that capability. And that's what you get when you watch like videos of him hitting pads. If you look at him when he has to move at range, I don't want to say he's harmless, but by the standards of any kind of serious professional boxer, not really all that dangerous. And that's the thing. And that's the funny thing is, this is a guy who lost to Kevin McBride in a pretty embarrassing performance way back in the day. I'm forgetting what year it was. Hang on. Professional boxing record police. Thank you. Back in 2005. Guys, there are people who watched this fight, who ordered it, who are in college now, who were not born when Mike Tyson was done. That's how long ago it was. Let's calm down. Our idols get old. And that's also going to come into play with the fight coming up here, with the pay-per-view we're about to talk about here, UFC 309. And otherwise, it was a good card. Like Serrano versus Taylor, that was a burner fight. I also enjoyed Ramos versus Barrios. I enjoyed actually most of the fights outside of the main event. Ironically, like the main event was the only complete waste of time stinker that was available, and apparently also the stream was terrible for some people. I didn't have any problems, but I have been told that there were problems. So, anyways. Let's not get conspiratorial brain when just age comes into play. So here we are. Let's talk about this John Jones Stipe Miocic card that went down on Saturday from the Madison Square Garden Arena. And I don't really have much to say about the main event. Stipe Miocic looked old. John Jones didn't look prime, but like didn't look old at the same time. Like there's like he's coming from a very, very high peak and he's not there anymore, obviously. He's 37 years old and all, but like round one, takes Stipe down, beats him up, elbows him all the heck. And then round two, very boring kickboxing. A lot of conversation about like, apparently one of the judge gave it to Stipe and people are like really, really unhappy about it. I don't think that should go to Stipe, but I think that people are like maybe overreacting a little bit. Like it was a very, very boring, low output round where Jones outlanded him 20-16. I don't think it's a travesty, really. Now, don't get me wrong. The problem with that round isn't so much that Jones clearly won it, is that At no point in that round did Stipe Miocic look like he could win the fight. And that was the big problem, really just like throughout the whole thing. Like the whole concept here is that we have two guys fighting each other and there is just zero path to victory for Stipe. That was the problem. And at the end of the day, Jones gets the win, spinning back kick to the body. Very cool finish. Very cool finish. And leaves the door open in the post fight for the idea of fighting Aspinall. But then basically shits on it back at the press conference. So, yeah. This was a waste of time. And I don't think that there's anything that you can look at this fight that enhances John Jones. He went out there and he beat an old man. And people are like trying to say like, oh no, he made Stipe look like, nah, Stipe didn't have the speed, didn't have the footwork anymore. He was a pretty mobile heavyweight back in the day, like, again, for heavyweight standards. But it was silly. John Jones did the Trump dance, did the Christian BS, my Lord and Savior, Jesus. I'm like, this guy is a gigantic, unrepentant, that's the other thing, unrepented piece of crap. And somehow this still plays. Stipe announced his retirement, and we move on. Jones versus Aspinall is the fight that should happen. We're more likely to see Poatan. There you go. That is what it is. Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira was, like, on one hand, like, really entertaining. Like, I really enjoyed it and everything. But, like, on the other hand, 4 rounds of this was, like, Oliveira just kind of rocking Chandler with everything he wanted to do. And, like, getting dominant positions on the ground. And Chandler fouling like a mofo to avoid getting submitted by, like, grabbing the cage and grabbing the gloves. And he had an eye poke in there and blah, blah, blah. And, yeah. It's just not as good as the first fight, I guess. I like that. That was kind of the problem, is that this fight was trying to live up to a really, really, really fun first fight. And it was like, Chandler don't got this no more. Now, credit to Chandler, mental toughness, physical durability and everything. He gets into the 5th round and he rocks Charles Oliveira and spams punches to the back of the head, which shouldn't have been legal, but hey, whatever. And wins that round, even at the end, like trying to do the back flop slams, which are dumb. They're not going to do anything. But, it's weird because Chandler's problem is it's not a physical thing. Like there's physical regression to him and specifically durability regression to him. But like, it's not like he's not fast, explosive, strong, and so on. Like he still is all of those things. Yet somehow he's just an incredibly worse fighter than he was. He's just been getting worse and worse. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. Oliveira called for a title shot against Islam or Arman Tsarukyan. And that's honestly what I would do, because I don't want to do the champ stuff. And there's not much else in terms of like contenders. Like who else do you put in that spot? So that is what I would do. I would probably say it's going to take a while, because particularly if Arman beats Islam, Islam's done more than enough to get an immediate rematch. And Islam also has a convincing win over Charles, so I don't know. Maybe you hang on and hope somebody separates them from the crowd, but I don't know who that would be. Chandler I have against Beneil Dariush, because that's 2 old men who at one time were like top 5 guys in the world and are, not anymore, but still, still good. Still, I don't need to see them retire or whatever. Like, let them fight each other and go for it. Donald Trump, of course, was at the event, which I have nothing more to add to my usual indignation that the UFC and Dana White, like, we're not political. Here's Donald Trump. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Don't piss in my ear and tell me it's raining. Charles Oliveira, I think, was the only one to like snub him on the night, so that's appreciated. Bo Nickel, Paul Craig was bad. I gave Craig the first. I gave Nickel the second and the third. If you gave all 3 to Nickel, I don't really care. It's a kickboxing match we didn't need to see. I had no interest in it, really, and this was why I feared like the fight was going to go. This was my concern with this fight, that Paul Craig would be, reputationally dangerous enough on the ground that Bo Nickel would elect to do like 15 minutes of kickboxing, and he did. I'm mixed on this, because on one hand, this is absolutely this thing that Bo Nickel, young 7th pro fight Bo Nickel should be doing. That's the case. This these are the fights he should have been having on the regional scene at this point, getting cage time, working things out, and improving. The problem, of course, is that one, we get it on a pay-per-view card, and two, we get him saying something about like dominating afterwards and like also being like well, it's kind of like the Mokaev thing. Like, remember when Muhammad Mokaev beat Malcolm Gordon? And after talking about how he was going to be the youngest champion ever and so on, he's like, I was fighting a serious veteran, guys. Like, I don't know why you expect me to do better. And it's kind of like the same thing with Bo Nickel, where it's like, you have all this big talk about your grand plans and how you're going to do, and then we get this. There's promise versus actual delivery and a considerable delta between the two. Bo Nickel I've got against Jacob Malkoon because he is someone who will try to wrestle with him, and we could see Bo do some striking and some wrestling. That would be cool. Paul Craig got against Andre Petroski. Karine Silva versus Viviane Araújo. This was a good fight. I thought that Silva won, but I have no issue with the decision because rounds 1 and 2 are like very, very, very close here. I scored them both for Silva, but they were very close, very uncertain rounds. I do think Silva won the first round. She was losing most of it, but then she hurt Araújo late, took over, ended up landing more shots. If you land more shots and you also did more damage, I kind of have to give you that round. So like it's a close enough round that you could go with Araújo, but I would disagree. So that's Silva's round. And then round 2 is the one that determines this because both ladies had a really, really good submission attempt. Araújo's was an armbar, Silva's was a choke, and there was some cool grappling stuff going on. And Araújo got dominance at the end, and I could see definitely winning the round because she got on top and started beating up Silva basically in the last 30 seconds again. You know, again, that big momentum switch from like how the round was going to the very, very finish like end of like the 30 seconds. And then the third round was just a gassed out, falling to her back Araújo, not entertaining. This was the boring part of the fight. This was the sad part of the fight that Silva, who had been dictating the pace and been chasing Araújo this whole time, is just falling to her back and so on. Ended up being on the paper like a competitive fight because it was 38. She outlanded Araújo 38-36 and apparently 25-17 in significant strikes. But no, you can't be falling to your butt repetitively, have no submission attempts, and not be able to get any kind of control on the ground and win the round. I don't think that's an option. So Araújo won that third round. The only problem I have with this fight is honestly that both of these girls should be way better. I've kind of said that is that Araújo, weird stat, 10 of her 12 opponents in the UFC and 7 straight have outlanded her. Silva being the 7th. And that is the kind of thing is like there's not enough pace to her. There is a reasonable understanding of striking. There is a solid clinch and wrestling game. And there is a solid grappling game. But she doesn't use the grappling to define fights. And she doesn't strike enough. And then with Silva, of course, you have her being just a complete mess. Bad footwork, obvious physical talent, obvious strength, explosiveness, speed, and so on, and power to be a really good fighter, but that has developed in no correct ways whatsoever. I've got Araújo against Tracy Cortez. I've got Silva against Lana Santos for basically Luana Santos, by the way. I think I messed that up. For all the head and arm throws. And then Mauricio Hufi beat James Lawntop by winning the first 2 rounds and then gassing out, basically. And I on first watching live, you can find it on Twitter. I scored it for Lawntop, but I mentioned that the first round I got a lot of technical issues in. It was actually my only real technical flaw of the night was like this fight here. The first round was really broken up, and what I saw was Lawntop winning. But of course, that's choppy and so on, and I can see that Hufi won the first round on the rewatch. So that was a bit of an embarrassing moment. But yeah, Hufi ran out of gas. Lawntop is exceptionally tough, but didn't really ask any questions of him, which kind of is what I was expecting. Hufi is too fancy for his own good. He's He's the type of guy who's a bit of a meme fighter. It's a lot of flash and no substance. Also, can I please stop getting commentary comparing him to Conor McGregor? For the love of God. I understand what they're going with, but like, just don't compare anyone to Conor McGregor. There's just nothing to do there. For Hoofy, I've got Guram Kutaralatse, and I've got Lon Top versus Trevor Peak, because that would be some bizarre fun. Jonathan Martinez, Marcus McGee also went about what I thought it would be. McGee was able to use pressure to force pocket exchanges on Martinez, and he's desperately uncomfortable with it. And then by the third round, Martinez has got McGee's leg just effed up. Done. And he wins that round because obviously McGee's fighting on one leg. But like, even that wasn't the most convincing thing in the world. Like, even the third round wasn't that convincing. What were the numbers here? Yeah, he landed him 27-25 in the round. Still wasn't close to finishing it or anything, except maybe, like, I don't know, like a doctor stoppage or something with the leg. But yeah. Actually, no, Martinez got outlanded. Pardon me, it was 27-25. McGee. Whew. You got outlanded by a guy on one leg. Yeah, this is the problem with Jonathan Martinez, is that he is a fighter that he likes a long range kicking bout. He is good with that. And he does not mind like a clinch fest. And it showed in this one because he had McGee on like one leg, and a la Andre Sukumtag and Sean O'Malley, he's like, let me clinch with you. When it's like, yeah, sure, whatever you want, boss. Just don't kick me in the leg. The problem is I don't think it really answers any questions I have about McGee. Like, I understand that this is the biggest fight of his career and a big step up. I get that. It's just that stylistically, you just kind of found, like, it's the problem with Martinez in general, is that if you beat him, it's usually just because you recognized the keys, a very obvious set of keys to beating him, and then you did it. You exploited the fact that he is uncomfortable in the pocket, and that's what McGee did. So, like, what does this mean for McGee going forward? I don't know. I assume he's going to be out for a while because I assume there's something significantly wrong with the leg. I've got Rob Font penciled in, but obviously he may not come back in time for this to have the same like environment. Woo, landscape. There you go. That's what I'm looking for. Martinez versus Taylor Lapilus, because we might as well have him just kick somebody. Jim Miller guillotined Damon Jackson, and I won a bunch of money because I don't know why Damon Jackson was the favorite here. I didn't get it. This seemed like the exact type of fight that he loses. Somebody who is a bigger, stronger grappler than him. Jim Miller does it again, gets the job done. I have him against Carlos Diego Ferreira. Jackson retired, didn't get an interview, apparently refused it. So hopefully that's legit. I always say this when someone retires, like, if you're thinking about retirement, please do that. And hopefully you actually have the financial situation and the life experience, and not experience, life situation to actually be retired. So there you go. Unfortunately, Miller did glaze Trump a bit. But hey, I'm not surprised. Roberto Romero versus David Onama was, oh my God, thumbs up, way in the air for Roberto Romero. This dude came out. He knew he had to get things going very quickly. He knew he had to hurt Onama early, and he did. He dropped him. He was looking for a rear naked choke. Onama defended quite well, got back up. Onama had like a clinch into an anaconda setup, didn't fully commit to it, and then staggers Romero down towards the bell, and even drops him. So I had Romero winning the first round, but like, there's an argument to go either way with it because Onama finished like so strong. And all three judges apparently did give it to him because he got 30-27s across the board. I'm looking at the stats now. He did outland him 48-42. So I am fine with that. No submission attempt for the rear naked choke for Romero. I know it was on the chin, but like, since when does that stop it from being a submission attempt? Anyways, Onama's physicality and like better technique took over down the stretch, though. He won the second and third round. He's hurting Romero. Romero's running out of gas because he's, functioning on a non-full camp and so on. And also Onama started working in some takedowns and, was able to get even mount position basically right off takedowns and land some ground and pound. So he did a great job. Onama did a great job weathering the storm and doing his thing, but like Romero, rock star on this one. I still don't think he's going to be all that good. Obviously, I said it when he came in as late replacement. I said it in the prediction video. I don't think this guy is UFC caliber. I still don't, but I appreciate that he went out there and went for the win and the gusto. So I've got Onama versus Julian Erosa. I've got Romero against someone off Contender Series because this man put on a solid show and deserves a little bit of a softball. Marcin Tybura versus Junta Diniz. At the end of the day, the referee called this one, or the doctor called this one after the second round. Round one was Diniz hurting Tybura and then pulling him down, and then like letting him get pulled to the mat with Tybura on bottom. Then there was a weird Diniz going for a leg lock and ending up on bottom position, and it's just bad. And then in the third round, Tybura is landing some good shots, not Tybura. Diniz is landing some good shots. Tybura gets the body lock, puts him down, half guard, eventually gets them out, launches some elbows, busts him open, could have stopped the fight right there, got to the bell. Doctor waved it off when apparently Diniz was looking concussed and wobbly on his legs. So that got called off. People are not happy about it. I kind of agree that I think that the doctor stoppage was a little bit weak, but I also think that fight could have been stopped in round 2 and that we were not headed to good things. So I'm not angry at it. For Tybura, he is the prove it kind of guy that you come up against, and I don't know what to do with him. There's no heavyweights coming up that I'm thinking about it. So I penciled in Shamil Gaziev, but I don't want that fight. And Diniz, I've got against either of the Tafa brothers. That would be cool. Has he fought either Tafa brother? I guess I should have looked that up. I should have looked that up before penciling it in. Who has he fought? I know he fought Carl Williams. Yeah, Carl Williams, Austin. Okay, he hasn't. Yeah, it's Carl Williams and Austin Lane he beat. So yeah, either of the Tafa brothers. Let it go. Let it roll. And then Ramiz Brahimaj knocked out Mickey Gall in impressive fashion. This was used as a big kind of thing with the gloves are the old gloves are better for knockouts. I don't know about that. I just think that Gall is a little bit fragile. I understand that we had a couple of knockouts on this card, and I have no doubt that a lot of the fighters are saying the old gloves are better. So I'm not here give the new gloves a chance. In fact, I think it's silly that we're gonna have new gloves on fight nights, old gloves on pay-per-views. That doesn't make any sense to me. Pick one or the other. But I don't know. I think the thing was that all the lack of knockouts with the new gloves were just kind of all right, what fights was I really expecting knockouts in? And I couldn't really come up with anything. So I don't know. Anyways, Brahimaj against Trevin Giles. I do not care about Gall at this point. It's done. This is the problem that Bo Nickal's kind of going through. Mickey Gall had the same thing where he came into the UFC super early in his career. And as a result, you're on the big stage and you didn't get to work on your stuff and you didn't get to really develop a game. You didn't get that comfort in the cage, and it's cost him a number of times. Basel Hafez got knocked out by Oban Elliott in the third round of their fight. And it was I don't know what Hafez was trying to do. Elliott would give him clinching opportunities as he was pressuring, and then he would just not do anything with them. And he was just getting outboxed. He was just getting outstruck, I think, every exchange that there was, basically. I mean, he got outlanded 65-24. You can't win landing 10, 12, and 2 strikes. It does not work. Anyways. So is this a great sign for Oban Elliott? I don't know. I just thought that Hafez looked bad. And this comes from somebody who had very low expectations for Hafez. I picked Elliott to win this fight. I thought Hafez's striking was quite bad coming into this, but this was kind of a fight IQ failure where you're not doing it. You're not fighting to a winning condition at all, and you're letting Elliott fight to his repetitively. So I've got Elliott against Mike Malott. Move it up. Let it happen. And then Basel Hafez, I got Angelosa. Veronica Hardy got basically bullied for 2 rounds by Eduardo Mora, with Mora having just basically the power. Not necessarily the better striking or anything, but when she would hit Hardy, it would do damage. And then in the second round, she got 2 takedowns and like was on top for like the entire round. Hardy won the third. I have no idea how a judge gave the third round to Mora. She got landed 21-9, had no takedowns, no top control, nothing, and somehow won the round. I don't get it. Yeah, I don't know. Like Mora needs to forget about 125. Daniel Cormier was or 115. Daniel Cormier was saying she still wants to go down to 115, and I'm just no, don't do this. Do not do this. It is insane. Anyways, Hardy needed to pick up the pace earlier. She did in the third round. If she had done that earlier, she might have been able to do something. I've got a Mora against Teresa Bleda because we might as well put the 2 weight bullies up against each other. I've got Hardy against Ivana Petrovic because Petrovic, I have a lot of questions about her ability to get to takedowns and so on. And Hardy, I have questions about her ability to stop takedowns. So that feels like a nice kind of lower end for fight for both of them. That was word salad, and I apologize. Anyways, we have another fight card coming up in Macau. Hang on. What do we got on that card? Anything I'm looking forward to? Anything I'm excited for? Anything I'm jonesing for? UFC Fight Night. Peter Yan, Davidson Figueiredo. That's a good fight. Xiaonan Yan versus Tabitha Ricci. I always have problems with Tabitha Ricci fights. We'll break that down. Kenan Song, Muzlan Salkov. I like that one. That's fun. Kong Wang versus Gabriela Fernandez. Sure. Uzdemir versus Olberg. That's pretty spicy. And then everything else down here is not great. Well, I guess there is Loner Kavanaugh. Fairly excited for him. Anyways, that is all. Check out the links down below for my social medias, my nerdy video game stuff, and other places you can get this podcast, as well as the MMA Simulator Discord server. I've got a surprise coming up on that later on this week.